Welcome to the Daily Dad podcast. During the week, we bring you a daily meditation of the best parenting wisdom we can find, drawing on history and philosophy and psychology and literature to inspire you to be a little bit better at the most important job you have. And then on the weekends, I have sort of a wrap-up conversation with my friend, fellow dad, and writing partner, Niels Parker. We just explore what's going on in our lives, what we're struggling with as parents, what we're doing well, what we want to do better, and what we've learned along the way, and what we've learned in the last week. So let's go. Hey everyone, I wanted to talk to you about Skillshare. Skillshare is the ultimate platform for learning how to be more creative and express yourself better. And if you're looking for a great way to spend your 2021, try learning a new skill with Skillshare and its amazing community of members. And right now you can get a free trial of Skillshare's premium membership when you visit Skillshare.com/dailydad. Skillshare is an online learning community that offers membership with meaning, so much to explore, real projects to create, and the support of fellow creators. Skillshare empowers you to accomplish real growth. You can take all sorts of awesome classes like productivity for creators. There's a great course even from Gary Vaynerchuk called Context is King, how to do better social media marketing. I thought it was helpful. Skillshare is also incredibly affordable, especially when compared to pricey in-person classes and workshops. The annual subscription is just $10 a month. So explore your creativity at Skillshare.com/dailydad to get a free trial of the premium membership. That's Skillshare.com/dailydad. Welcome to another episode of the Daily Dad podcast. Today, I wanted to give you something that we were thinking a lot about over on Daily Stoic. We get this question a lot. How do you teach your kids about ancient philosophy? I think this episode will help you with that. Look, if philosophy is important to you, you want to teach it to your kids. The Stoics were, of course, in addition to being philosophers, parents. Marcus Aurelius had children. Seneca had a son. Cato had a son and a daughter. And it's hard not to read parenting advice in the Stoics because, again, they were parents. They were struggling with what we are struggling with. So they've got a bunch of stuff to say about being a good parent. And I think you will like this short episode on how to teach Stoicism to your kids. And of course, if you're really struggling with this, I do suggest my newest book, The Boy Who Would Be King, which is a fable about the rise of Marcus Aurelius. And I think a great way to sort of drop some of this Stoic wisdom in for your kids. How do you teach your kids about ancient philosophy? Well, you probably don't tell them that you're going to teach them about ancient philosophy because they will definitely not be interested. But the reality is that most of the ancient philosophers were parents. Most of the ancient philosophers tried to be good parents. And many of the stories that we have of the ancient philosophers, particularly the Stoics, is them talking about lessons that they're trying to teach young people. And so this art of being a Stoic parent is not a theoretical one, it's a very real one. Marcus Aurelius had children. Epictetus didn't have any children of his own, but he adopted a boy and raised him. Seneca had a child. We don't know if he lost the child young, but we know he was a father. We know he wrote a lot about parenting. And then he essentially raised Nero from adulthood, not necessarily a success story, but the Stoics were thinking about how you train young people from the beginning. Cato had children. In fact, his daughter, Portia, clearly he taught philosophy, and she became sort of a Stoic superhero in her own way. So what are some of the Stoic lessons for parenting? Well, I think the first, and this is, I think, the simplest, most direct thing you can teach your children. It's this sort of core lesson in Stoicism, and it's we don't control what happens, but we always control how we respond. That's the core of Stoicism, right? We have powerlessness over the external world, over so many things in the external world, but we have complete power over ourselves, over our thoughts, over our emotions. So one of the things a parent trying to teach their kid Stoicism can do, they don't have to teach them names or dates or places or any of that. You just go, look, Okay, that person shoved you on the playground. You don't control that. You didn't like that. You didn't want that. But you control what you're going to do in response. Are you going to tell them how that made you feel? Are you going to decide to hit them back? Is that the kind of person you want to be? You control whether you're going to sit and cry about it all day. You control whether you're going to pretend to be sick and stay home from school the next day. You don't control what happens. You control how you respond. You don't control whether your teacher has it out for you. You control how you show up every day and the work that you put in. You don't control whether you have a natural aptitude for math or sports or any of these things, but you control the effort you put in. You control where you decide to channel your effort in response to this reality. So at the core of Stoicism is that idea. And I think it's one of the most powerful and important lessons you can teach your kids. And the earlier you teach them this, the better. We don't control what happens, but we always control how we respond. I think if I was going to try to teach my kids some sort of core Stoic lessons, I might just start with those 4 Stoic virtues. And I think these are words you can put up around your house. You can quiz them on flashcards, you can talk to them about it, and of course you also have to sort of exhibit them and be a role model about them. But the 4 Stoic virtues are courage, moderation, justice, and wisdom, right? Bravery, endurance, strength, that's courage, temperance, so moderation, balance, self-control, equilibrium, that's that second virtue. Justice, doing the right thing. Just that you do the right thing, Marcus Aurelius said, the rest doesn't matter. And then wisdom, the joy and the love of knowledge, the pursuit of knowledge, education. So those 4 core Stoic concepts. Again, your kid doesn't need to know who Marcus Aurelius is, doesn't need to know who Seneca is or Epictetus, but we can just teach them those 4 things. I think if that core virtue for the Stoics is wisdom, then you have to actively prioritize education in your home. Got a quick message from one of our sponsors, and then we'll get right back to the show. Stay tuned. Every morning as part of my morning routine, I shave, even though I can't grow a beard for my life, but I do get stubble. And that is where today's sponsor comes in. I'm talking about Harry's. Most of the time, I think when we're looking at razors, we're choosing between quality or price. We get the bag of crappy razors from the store, or you're getting a close shave from a barber. Well, for a limited time, Harry's is offering their starter set plus a free body wash for just $3 at harrys.com/dailydad. Harry's delivers a great shave at a fair price, just $2 per refill. To ensure all their products are high quality, they even own their own factory in Germany. And this is one of the only manufacturers in the world to have mastered the technology to create a Gothic arch, which is the gold standard for razor blade grinding. And that's why Harry's has a 100% quality guarantee on their blades. For a limited time, Harry's has an exclusive offer for listeners of the Daily Dad podcast. New customers get a Harry's starter set and a free body wash for just $3 at harrys.com/dailydad. That's a $16 value for $3. You'll get a 5-blade razor, a weighted handle, foaming shave gel, and a travel cover, and a travel-size body wash. It's a great deal, but act while supplies last. Go to harrys.com/dailydad to redeem your offer. Seneca is given a Stoic tutor growing up. Cato given a Stoic tutor growing up. Marcus Aurelius given a Stoic tutor growing up. Epictetus meets Musonius Rufus, more in his 20s, who he studies under. So who are the smart minds? Who is handling your kids' education? It's not just about where they're going to school. Who are their educational role models? Who are you surrounding them by that they are learning explicitly from? So that's one of the things I'm thinking about with my kids. Okay, school, that's a legal obligation. Getting into college, that's part of it. But what can I do with my means to make sure they're getting access to really great teachers and thinkers who they can learn from in a direct one-on-one relationship? We all know that mentorship is really the way that we get ahead, that really the way we come to understand things on a deep level. So how are you helping provide that for your kid? And I think this is part of that idea of education. It's not just, hey, you're young, you have to go learn these things, but you have to learn alongside your kids. So Seneca talks about how when he's writing his letters to Lucilius, he says, assume that I am laying in the same hospital with you. We're both learning, we're both sick, we're both trying to get better. And so it's not just enough to tell your kids that, wisdom and education are important, but how are you modeling that with your decisions? How are you learning with them? How are you bringing them in when you're struggling with things? So when we're talking about teaching these 4 virtues of courage, justice, temperance, and wisdom, how are you helping bring your kids into that? Show them a situation you're struggling with at work. that's, sort of pulling at your conscience, and show them how you're thinking about it, how you're wrestling with it, and hopefully and ideally show them how you're going to make the right decision afterwards. I think another core part about teaching our kids Stoicism, once you sort of laid this foundation, is don't baby them when it comes to books. People used to read Seneca and Marcus Aurelius when they were kids. George Washington was introduced to Stoicism like as a preteen, right? So when are you introducing them to the text? Don't just assume like, oh, they're young, I have to give them this special kid-friendly version. Like, no, kids used to read Epictetus in Greek and in Latin. They would learn them in the original languages, right? And we would never expect our kids to do that, but the reality is they could, because we know that generations before they did. So I think we get better by wrestling with difficult ideas, by big ideas, by sort of reading above our level, as we talk about at Daily Stoic. So don't infantilize your kids and assume they're not capable of pushing themselves. So like, look, sure, they can start with the Daily Stoic Instagram, and they can start with these videos, they can start with the podcast, or though, like, give them a copy of Marcus Aurelius, let them wrestle with it. Show how you're wrestling with it too. Talk to them about it. You might be understanding it at different levels, but make this Stoic process something you're engaging in together, something that you are both working on. A house without books is not a home. So what kind of books are you inspiring your kids to read? Are you pushing them to read? They will rise to your level of expectation when it comes to education. If you assume they're kids and they don't know anything, they're not going to know anything. So push them to really read these texts, and I think they'll be able to absorb Stoicism at a level that will surprise you. The ultimate, most important way to teach Stoicism to your kids is to just live it, right? Epictetus said, don't talk about your philosophy, embody it, right? Don't talk about it, be about it. You can't go around and tell your kids, look, these are the 4 virtues, this is what the Stoics said, this is what Marcus Aurelius would do. What matters is what you do. What matters is how you live, how you and your wife or your husband, how you guys model this behavior for your kids. Don't talk to them about being Stoic and then freak out in traffic. Don't talk to them about self-control and temperance and then have an insatiable appetite for food or sex or money or fame, right? You have to prove these lessons. So the best way ultimately to teach your kids about Stoicism that doesn't require any explicit work from you as far as teaching goes or instruction goes is just to live the principles that we talk about here and that Seneca and Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus laid down all those centuries ago. For the last year, I've been hard at work on my newest book, a way to tell the incredible story of the life of Marcus Aurelius. 2,000 years ago, Marcus Aurelius was plucked from obscurity to become the emperor of Rome. What he did, who he was, what he learned, is something we can all learn from. And now that book is available in an illustrated form told for all ages. It's called The Boy Who Would Be King, and it's by me, Ryan Holiday. I wrote it in the depths of the pandemic, not unlike the one Marcus Aurelius lived through, the Antonine Plague. And this beautifully handcrafted book, which I'm so proud of, is available for pre-order now. It's 100 pages, published entirely by me and my company, and it's printed here in the United States. Just check it out at store.dailystoic.com or go to dailystoic.com/king. I can't wait for you to read this awesome, timeless fable for all ages. I know it'll make a great gift, and I know you and your family will get a lot out of it. So check it out, The Boy Who Would Be King, available now.